The call came just after midnight. I was half asleep, the kind of tired where you don't even remember which day it is. But when I saw the caller ID, Fayette County Coroner, I sat up straight. Mr. Harlow? Yes. I'm sorry to inform you, your Uncle Robert was found dead in his home this evening. We believe it was natural causes, but you'll need to come identify the body. Uncle Robert. I hadn't spoken to him in over 12 years. Not since the family fell apart. But now, just like that, he was gone. And somehow, I was the next of kin. Robert Harlow was a strange man, quiet, distant, obsessively private. But he was loaded. Everyone knew that. After he sold his software company in the 90s, he moved into a crumbling Victorian mansion in Kentucky and practically disappeared. No wife. No kids. No visitors. But there were always rumors. That he kept records on people. That he had secrets. That he paid for silence more than once. I thought it was just small-town gossip. Until I walked into that house. The place was exactly what you'd expect from an eccentric millionaire. Books floor to ceiling. Locks on every interior door. Cameras in the corners. And an office that felt more like a bunker. That's where I found it. Not just his will, but two. One official, filed with the attorney. And one, hidden behind a false wall in his study. Handwritten. Unwitnessed. Titled. The Other Will. And what it said made my blood run cold. If this is found, it means the truth was never supposed to stay buried. I've wronged more people than I can count. But I never stole money. I stole lives. And now someone else will try to finish what I started. If you're reading this, get out of the house. Burn everything. And don't trust anyone named Harlow. The morning after I found the second will, the official one was already in motion. A lawyer named Gregory Kane, bald, confident, and dressed like he charged by the second, called me from Lexington. He was Robert's estate attorney. Mr. Harlow, he said, your uncle left behind significant holdings. I'll need you to come in by Friday to sign preliminary documents. Standard procedure. We're executing the will he filed in 2019. I asked, did he ever mention a second version? There was a pause, just long enough to feel rehearsed. No, he said curtly. There's only one. The house creaked like it was listening. I walked back into the study, the hidden compartment still slightly open from the night before. I hadn't told anyone about the second will yet, not the lawyer, not even my wife, Emily. The envelope had no legal seal. No witnesses. Just that message scrawled in Robert's distinct, angular handwriting. Burn everything. Don't trust anyone named Harlow. Except. I was a Harlow. And now the name was beginning to feel like a curse. I started searching the study, inch by inch. There were 4 bookshelves, each crammed with dusty volumes on programming, finance, and ethics. Titles like The Morality of Secrecy, Consent and Consent-Adjacent Technologies, and one particularly unsettling volume, Markets of Memory, The Commodification of Identity. Behind the largest bookshelf hung a massive oil painting of my grandfather. I always hated that thing. The eyes followed you. Robert must have hated it too, because it was the only thing in the room untouched by dust. Recently cleaned. Out of instinct, I pressed my fingers along the wooden frame. Click. The frame tilted slightly. Behind it, a steel wall panel. In the center, an old dial lock safe. No keypad. No biometrics. Just numbers. I stepped back, heart pounding. No code in the second will. Nothing obvious in Robert's journals. Unless. I turned to the bookcase. The largest volume, Harlow Family Holdings, Volume 1, was missing. The index showed it should have been there. But the first book on the shelf was Volume 2, 1987 to 1994. What if volume I was in the safe? Or, what if it was the code? I started trying combinations. I remembered Robert's birthday. His mother's. Mine. Nothing worked. Then I noticed something strange. Tucked between two ledgers was a smaller notebook. Leather-bound. It wasn't dusty. It had been used, and recently. The first page was a diagram of the Harlow family tree. But names had been crossed out in red. My grandfather. My cousin Rachel. Even Robert himself. The only names left untouched. Mine. And someone named E.H. With a single note underneath. Not blood. Not bound. Not safe. Was E.H. Emily? My wife? No. Her maiden name was Trent. So who the hell was this? That night, I dreamed of the safe. I was trapped inside it, no walls, just a floating void with a dial spinning endlessly. A voice echoed around me, calm and cold. He didn't die of natural causes. At dawn, I woke up to the smell of smoke. The fire alarm hadn't gone off, but the hallway outside the study was full of it. I rushed to the door. The study was fine. Untouched. But the painting? Gone. Only the bolts remained, melted, as if someone had heated them from the inside. The safe was exposed now, glowing faintly at the seams. And on the desk, where I had left Robert's hidden will, was a new sheet of paper. Fresh. Typed. Centered. We warned him. Don't make the same mistake. That afternoon, I got a voicemail from Gregory Kane. Just a quick update, he said casually. The will's language was changed in 2019 to exclude certain cousins. You are now the sole inheritor of all liquid assets. We'll need you to sign bank transfer forms next week. I sat on the edge of Robert's bed and listened to the message again. Certain cousins. Crossed out names. Burn everything. That night, I opened the safe. I still don't know how. My fingers moved almost without me. I tried a new combination, dates from the journal entries, July 13, 1982. Click. Inside were three things. A gold-plated USB stick. A cassette tape. A manila folder labeled. The other Harlows. I didn't sleep that night. The safe sat open beside me, like the mouth of some iron beast that had just coughed up a secret too big to swallow. The gold USB drive glinted in the lamplight. The cassette felt like it weighed 10 pounds. And the folder, the other Harlows, was thick with paper. I opened it first. The top page was a family tree. But it wasn't the same as the one I'd seen in the notebook. This one went further. Names I'd never heard of. Entire branches of the Harlow family that were never mentioned at reunions. Some with question marks instead of death dates. Others crossed out in black ink. A single name had been highlighted. Avery Harlow, deceased. And beneath that, in Robert's writing. If Avery's still alive, nothing in this will matters. He is the key. Everything else is smoke. I scanned the next few pages. Legal documents. Property sales. A police report from 1989 in rural Indiana. Apparently, Avery had been declared dead in absentia after disappearing from a family estate during what was described as a dispute over mineral rights. But something didn't add up. Robert had underlined a line in the coroner's report. No remains recovered. No evidence of foul play. Case closed per family request. Per family request. Who had requested that? Who benefited? I plugged in the USB stick. My laptop lit up with a single folder. RH//vault. Inside were spreadsheets. Hundreds of them. Color-coded logs of wire transfers, dummy corporations, real estate flips, offshore accounts, crypto wallets, all tracked to something called Harlow Fund F9. It was a financial hydra, each transaction leading to 2 more. And right in the middle, flagged in yellow. $3. 8 million. Transferred under my name, to a holding company in Belize. Dated 6 months ago. My breath caught in my throat. I never made that transfer. I'd never even heard of this company. And yet, there it was. In black and white. On Robert's personal drive. The cassette tape came last. There was an old player in Robert's study, dusty but functional. I pushed play. A voice crackled out, shaky, deliberate. It was Robert. If you're hearing this, it means I'm dead. Not dramatic, just true. And it means I couldn't stop what was coming. The family, our family, we were never just landowners and software geeks. We were cleaners. Financial janitors. We handled the kind of money that doesn't exist on paper. The kind that disappears when someone dies. I thought I was out. But Avery came back. Click. He called me. From a number that doesn't trace. Said he wanted his part. Said I owed him. Click. But here's the truth, Ben, Avery's not owed anything. He was written out, by blood and by contract. Your father helped. So did mine. They erased him. And now he's erasing us back. Click. If you find the safe, go to Lexington. The building is still there. Ask for the old vault under the Winstead Bank. Use the name Ellis. And Ben, if you see him, don't talk. He's not what you remember. He's not who we buried. Click. I rewound the tape twice, just to be sure I heard right. Avery's alive. And worse, he's reclaiming what he thinks was stolen. I didn't tell Emily everything. Just that I needed to go to Lexington. Alone. She offered to come. I said no. She looked hurt. But not surprised. As I drove, a thought kept repeating in my head. What if this was never about inheritance? What if it was about ownership? The Winstead Bank was a fortress. Old stone exterior. Wrought iron doors. But its modern lobby was glass and gold trim. The woman at the front desk looked up as I approached. I'm here to access a vault, I said. Under the old building. Name's Ellis. Her smile froze just slightly. I'll need to make a call. 5 minutes later, a tall man in a charcoal suit appeared. His name tag said Daniel. No last name. Follow me. We went down 2 levels. Past a rusted elevator. Through a door that required both a keycard and a retinal scan. Finally, a vault. But not for safety deposit boxes. Inside were drawers. Hundreds. Numbered. Coded. Daniel unlocked drawer 131A and stepped back. You have 10 minutes. Inside was a single photograph. A black and white image of a boy, about 11 years old, standing in front of a barn. Scrawled on the back. Avery. 1974, don't forget. There was also a note in Robert's hand. I buried it under the house. The real house. The cabin in Harlan County. If you go there, bring a shovel. And a gun. I drove straight back home, mind racing. Emily was in the kitchen, arms crossed. Not angry, concerned. You've been gone 12 hours, she said. You didn't answer your phone. And someone was here looking for you. My stomach twisted. Who? She hesitated. A man. Mid-50s. Dressed like a preacher. Said his name was Avery. Harlan County wasn't on any of my usual routes. The GPS got me close, but the last 5 miles were gravel and instinct. Pine trees lined both sides of the winding road. The sun had dipped low, casting long shadows that reached like fingers across my windshield. I passed rusted mailboxes, trailers half swallowed by kudzu, and a gas station that looked like it hadn't pumped fuel since Clinton was in office. According to Robert's note, the old Harlow cabin was just past mile marker 42. And sure enough, there it was. A crumbling one-story house tucked behind a collapsed fence, with its porch leaning forward like it was whispering something to the earth. The air changed the moment I stepped out of the car. Thicker. Still. A kind of hush that doesn't feel natural. I approached slowly, hand on the shovel in the back seat, the other on the .38 revolver Robert had left in his desk drawer. The note had been clear. Bring a shovel. And a gun. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. Inside, everything smelled of rot and old wood. The wallpaper was peeling. Mice had chewed through the sofa. But on the fireplace mantel, still perfectly centered, was a photo of a boy with sharp eyes and crooked teeth. Avery. The same photo from the vault. Underneath it, someone had carved a single word into the wood. Redemption. I searched the house for hours. Nothing. No safe. No notes. Just creaks, whispers, and the kind of silence that makes your thoughts start sounding like someone else's voice. Then I found the trapdoor, under a throw rug in the back bedroom. The hinges screamed when I opened it. Wooden stairs led into pitch black. The basement wasn't large, just enough space for an oil drum, some moldy boxes, and a dirt floor. I stood in the center, shovel in hand, and started digging. At 6 inches, nothing. At 10, rocks and clay. At 14, wood. I dropped to my knees and cleared the dirt with my hands. It was a box. Oak. Heavy. Sealed with iron latches. I pried it open. Inside were documents. Dozens of them. Birth records. Land deeds. 2 different wills. All with different signatures, some of them mine. Forged. And at the very bottom, was a single videotape. Label. June 17, 1987, the agreement. I didn't have a VCR. But I knew who would. On my way out, I heard a car. I ducked behind a tree just as a black Lincoln pulled up. A man stepped out. Late 50s. Dark suit. Hands clasped in front like he was about to lead a funeral. His face. Avery. I was sure of it. But it wasn't just the years that had changed him. It was something deeper. The way he moved. Like he didn't feel gravity the way the rest of us did. He walked to the porch, paused, then turned and looked straight at the tree I was hiding behind. Like he knew. Then he smiled. I didn't sleep that night. Again. But this time it wasn't just paranoia, it was revelation. The forged wills. The shifting inheritances. The secret accounts. My entire family tree was a lie. Or worse, a ledger. Each person weighed by value. I drove back to Lexington and went straight to the law offices of Gregory Kane. He wasn't there. Out for the week, the secretary said. Something about urgent family business. Family. That word didn't mean anything anymore. I found a place in town that transferred VHS to digital. It took 4 hours. When I finally watched the video, I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. The footage was grainy, but clear enough. 5 men in suits. Sitting at a long table. One of them, Robert. Another, my father. Avery stood across from them, arms crossed. A man with white hair read from a paper. This agreement hereby dissolves all rights and claims of Avery Harlow to the estate, holdings, and fiduciary entitlements of the Harlow Family Trust. In exchange for silence and relocation, he will receive an annuity of $50,000 per year for life. Should he return, contest, or interfere, this agreement becomes void, and enforcement shall be at the discretion of the remaining members. My father spoke next. Avery's presence jeopardizes more than just money. He's compromised. He made contact with individuals from the Danner Group. That makes him a liability. We protect the family. Even from its own. At the end of the tape, Avery stood. He didn't sign the paper. He just looked into the camera, at whoever would watch this, and said, "This isn't the end. This is just the part where you think I'm gone." I returned to Robert's house the next morning. I'd left in a panic after seeing Avery in Harlan County, but something had shifted. The fear that had kept me up at night had morphed into a kind of cold resolve. I no longer doubted what was happening. The question now was how deep it all went, and what Robert had really hidden beneath the floorboards of his life. The will, the tape, the money trail, it all pointed back here. Home. I hadn't stayed in the house since that first night. The air inside still felt wrong, like it remembered things it shouldn't. I moved cautiously through the rooms, flashlight in hand even in broad daylight. The walls groaned under their own weight. The painting was still gone, the safe wide open, emptied by me. But something had been gnawing at me for days. The blueprints. Robert had scanned copies of the house plans stored on a flash drive in his office. When I pulled them up again, I noticed something that made my stomach knot. A room. Directly under the study. Labeled Sub 1C. No door. No stairs. Just a space. Hidden in the blueprint like a ghost. There had to be a way in. I ran my fingers along every panel in the floor. Knocked on the walls. Nothing. Then I noticed the desk. It was bolted to the floor, not screwed, not nailed. Bolted. Why would a desk need that? I unscrewed the bolts. Pulled with all my strength. With a low groan, the desk shifted, and revealed a square of wood beneath it. A cutout, flush with the rest of the floor, with a metal ring set into it. I gripped the ring and pulled. Dust exploded into my face. A rectangular hatch creaked open. A metal ladder descended into darkness. I should have called someone. Emily. The police. Hell, even Gregory Kane. But some part of me, maybe the same part that had kept Robert quiet all these years, knew I couldn't. This wasn't for outsiders. This was family. The air below was cold and damp, and the ladder groaned under my weight. My flashlight barely cut through the darkness. The walls were old brick. The tunnel stretched forward maybe 30 feet before vanishing into shadow. And at the end, a door. Iron. Rusted. With a small plaque. Vault //HFT. I touched the handle. It was warm. Inside, I found shelves. Cabinets. A generator humming softly in the corner. This room had power. Old computer towers blinked quietly, still running. Stacks of paper lined the tables, legal documents, blackmail files, records of payments to judges, land transfers, offshore wires. But at the center of the room was what stopped me cold. A table. And on that table, a single object. A heart monitor. Still on. Still beeping. Hooked up to a person. I staggered back. It was an old man. Thin. Gray-bearded. Tubes in his arms, eyes closed, barely breathing. Machines keeping him alive. And next to the monitor, a laminated card. Avery Harlow, asset #F9. I wasn't seeing things. This wasn't a ghost. Or a metaphor. This was Avery. Alive. Hidden. Underground. Not the man I saw in Harlan County. A twin. A clone. A decoy.